Hello, class. This is a continuation of today's lecture, which is lesson 0107. And we're continuing to talk about the culture of classical Greece. We just wrapped up talking about Greek drama. And now I want to head on over to the topic of the arts in general and the classical ideal that the Greeks themselves formulated. And that ideal or that goal for the arts can be basically summed up as it says there. The aim was to express eternally true ideals, meaning art was meant to inspire us to greatness. Art is meant to point a person towards true perfection, true ideals, and that's important to understand as you look at the art of the Greeks. And so values such as reason, using one's reason, moderation, not doing anything in excess, symmetry, balance, and harmony in all things. The belief was if we were to lean into these things, they would help civilize our emotions, and we would not allow our emotions to get the better of us. So that's the whole idea of art in terms of classical Greece. And a great example of this can be found in their architecture, which is the Parthenon. And you can see this in the symmetry, the balance, the harmony of just the columns. And even though in this picture, we only see a portion of the Parthenon today, the roof is certainly gone. But if you take a closer look, you can see how everything is perfectly situated and spaced. And there's a symmetry and a balance and a harmony to the physical nature of this building. It's meant to evoke the same in one's soul, in one's inner life. So Greek culture definitely looks to the arts as one of those things which can help point people in the right direction of living. And another aspect of Greek culture that was especially important was philosophy. So when you think of philosophy, you may think, oh, here are people debating things that don't really matter. But the actual word philosophy means one who loves wisdom and the love of wisdom. And wisdom itself is defined as living life well. So there's a very practical aspect to philosophy. And a few categories I want you to know about that our text covers would be a group of philosophers known as sophists. They, however, espoused a certain approach to life that may not sound all that unfamiliar. This may sound very familiar, in fact. They believed that there was no ultimate right or wrong in life. The goal was simply to persuade others that you're right in seeking your own truth. And so that was their approach, very similar to today's postmodern approach. Nothing new under the sun, it seems. But they weren't the only philosophers. In fact, one thing to understand about philosophy is it's like one great or grand conversation where people are conversing with one another about, oh, this is what life is really about. And so not everyone was on board with what the sophists were espousing. Socrates, for example, believed that there wasn't just your own truth. He believed that there was only the truth. And he used a question and answer method. That's what the Q&A stands for there, often referred to as the Socratic Method, to help people find the truth. And he would do it as simply as asking if you made a statement that, I believe the purpose of life is to get as much money as possible. He would ask you, okay, well, why is that? And he would keep pressing you and keep trying to extract from you what it was that you believed to be true regarding money. But he isn't the only philosopher. Plato is a student of Socrates, and he is well known for being, as I said, he's a student of Socrates, and he wrote a book called The Republic, which is a series of conversations or a dialogue that sets out his own ideas about the way government should be run. And also, he believed in what is called a set of ideal forms that are ultimate reality. In other words, the world in which we live is not ultimate reality. It's a mere reflection of ultimate perfection in another dimension. And so he believed in these ultimate ideal forms as setting the pattern. How do we know what is a perfect circle? Because somewhere out there in another dimension, there exists a perfect circle. And that's where we get the idea of what is circular. There are other things that we could get into about that, but a student of his is Aristotle. And you can kind of see a continuity from Socrates to Plato to Aristotle, even though they each believed slightly something different than the other. And he rejected this whole idea that ultimate reality is somewhere else out there. He rejected Plato's forms, in other words, and he wrote his own ideas about government. And so Aristotle is yet another influential philosopher. But taken together, the sophists, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, they set the conversation for centuries following. And it's one reason we need to know who these men are.